Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Thursday, November 13th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by Garrick Hodge and the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter. And yes, we got to find a nickname for Garrick. We will. These things have to happen naturally. Can't force it. We'll get one. He's still relatively new. He's crushing it. All right, we're going to talk recruiting on today's show, of course. Don't worry, guys. Dan Rubin will be back next week. You're not stuck with me for 2 straight weeks. First things first, I wasn't a big fan when I heard that the UCLA game was going to be a night game, Garrick, but it's working out well recruiting-wise. Seems like a pretty big recruiting weekend for the Buckeyes, having the night game, some 2026 kids on official visits, some 2027 kids that are going to be coming for the game on unofficial visits. How would you describe this recruiting weekend this recruiting weekend? Is it a big recruiting weekend? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I won't belabor the point because we've talked about it at length for years now with the big noon kickoffs and primetime games make it so much easier for out-of-state recruits to get to Ohio Stadium. And obviously the recruiting staff at Ohio State loves when they get a night game because it makes their lives and their visitor lists a lot bigger, right? In terms of how big this specific recruiting weekend is, I would say it's kind of in the middle. It's definitely not a nothing weekend, but I wouldn't put it on the same level as the Texas game or even the Penn State game. I think those had a lot more quantity for sure, and then the quality subjective depending on how you like each particular prospects. But there are some potential ramifications that could come up, especially with 3 2026 prospects taking official visits to Columbus, and I'm sure we're going to get into those in just a minute. But yeah, I would say that there's some really intriguing 2026 prospects coming to town. There's some really intriguing 2027 prospects coming to town, and I'm excited to get into all of that with you, Dave.
Yeah, and let's start with CJ Bronaugh, Florida commit. As you mentioned, he's also a sprint champion. That sounds good for a corner. Where do the Buckeyes stand with CJ Bronaugh going into his official visit this weekend?
Well, I think there's a lot of cautious optimism around him right now. A lot of other teams have tried to get in CJ's recruitment late with the firing of Billy Napier, and Ohio State is the only visit he's set. Michigan's tried. I think LSU tried for a while before it fired Brian Kelly, but he hasn't visited either of those schools, and I don't think he will. We'll see. But Ohio State did get the official visit set. Tim Walton went in on the off week and went to one of his games. And, yeah, like you said, Dave, I would consider CJ one of the more toolsy corners in the entire 2026 class. He's been verified at a 10.34 100-yard meter dash. He's a back-to-back state champion in Florida in the 100-meter dash. He hasn't, to my knowledge, played quite the competition you'd expect a Florida athlete to play. His high school plays what's called an independent schedule, which I wasn't aware that Florida classifications had that. But nonetheless, he's the best player on the field anytime you look at him. He's a legit 6'1", around 166, 170 pounds, somewhere around there. So he profiles more as an outside-type corner. But this is a guy that where if he puts it all together, and I think there might be a little bit of an adjustment period because, a lot of guys will tell you privately, like once they step foot on Ohio State's campus, you're like, man, I knew the adjustment to college was going to be significant compared to high school, but I didn't think it was going to be this much. There's dudes everywhere on the field. I think he might have a month or two of adjustment periods, but I will give him this. When he went to the Under Armour camp before the start of his senior year, he was named MVP of the defensive backs. So when he's performed against talented wide receivers and all that, and granted it's a camp setting, so small sample size and take of it what you will, but he's performed very well. And of course, 247 has him ranked as the number 76 prospect in the nation and the number 6 cornerback. So if Ohio State can get him to flip, which, there's some cautious optimism, but I wouldn't say it's a done deal or even close to that right now. We have to see how the visit goes. You would have 3 corners of Jay Timmons, Jordan Thomas, and CJ Bronaugh, and that would be a heck of a cornerback haul.
All right, let's take a look at that. I actually put it up quickly here. I'm using a new computer here. Sorry, guys.
New background, new Dave.
Yeah, I'll get back to the old background, but yeah, let's take a look at this video, Mark, of CJ Bronaugh.
Yeah, you're going to see some clips of him a receiver, which you're going to see him run away from everybody.
There's that speed Garrick was talking about.
Yeah, he's winning that by 10 yards. To to get a player who we watched the other day that runs 10.25 and that have a 10.3 player available a couple days later, why even bother recruiting the rest of the year? Just wait for the couple of weeks before signing day and pick up some of the fastest players in the country. There's plays here at defensive back. And as Garrett was talking about the competition, I was trying to see, like, can you find a flaw in what he's facing here? These are pretty standard high school plays against standard competition. Yeah, he's dominating it. When you're looking at corners, you're basically looking at speed prospects. And when you find players at 6'1" that can run like this, even if they were not highly ranked, you can coach it up, right? Like, give me 5 players that run 10.3, and guess what? I'll give you an All-American or 2 out of that bunch. Just let me rep them up for a couple of years in practice. But this player's definitely a football player. I'd like to see more of him come up and tackle some players in these films and see what kind of physicality, if he's got a safeties mentality to him. But again, that speed is beyond special. And then there's your physical, run play. It didn't look like that running back was exactly Archie Griffin coming at him, but we do get some clips of him. And Garrick, I'm not a expert on the competition in Florida and who's playing who or whatnot, but the speed is speed no matter where you're at. And I joke in Ohio, I'm like, I go to Amish territory and find guys. So it doesn't matter where they come from. Talent can be born anywhere.
Shout out to Plain City, Jonathan Alder. No, I know that's probably not. They do have some Amish there in Plain City. That's probably not the most concentrated area of Ohio where there's up in your neck of the woods. There's some Amish, right, Mark? Near there.
You know what? If you go down Route 62 from my house down to Columbus, you go through West Holmes County, and you get a lot of buggies out on the road, and you're constantly looking for horse manure as you're driving. But
yeah,
the joke there is those kids milk cows before they go to school, and it's a different atmosphere. It's a different. But I have found players in those territories. Size comes from there. Sam Williams-Dixon played at West Holmes.
That's right.
Middle of Amish territory. So, yeah, and Amish territory is loosely, in Ohio. There's a couple different areas where you get out there and up by Lake Erie and, underneath Geneva and Madison, there's a pocket in there to the, east of Cleveland. So there's a few areas where you'll see the Amish.
Yeah, and I think it's like they're mostly Mennonites in near Plain City, but I used to work in Madison County, so I got to know a little bit about that. All right, let's get back to the 2026 kids that'll be here on official visits. In addition to CJ Bronaugh, defensive end Dre Quinn, and linebacker Braxton Rembert. Braxton right now is committed to Wake Forest, as you know, Garrick. Dre, I believe, was committed to Clemson and decommitted. So what do we need to know about where the Buckeyes stand with Dre Quinn and Braxton Rembert?
Sure. Dre Quinn, a lot of interest in him from Ohio State's end, and he took an unofficial visit earlier this fall and really moved the needle for him, so he scheduled an official visit. This one, it's hard to get a little bit of a gauge right now because he still has other visits lined up after this one, and Texas has always been in the driver's seat, in my opinion, since this recruitment opened back up, but now Miami's coming hard after him, and when Miami gets involved, we all know what that might entail on the recruiting sphere, so you can never discount that. But what is also clear and evident is Ohio State's need for another defensive end in the 2026 class alongside Kerry Wilder, who, by the way, is a really damn good defensive end. I know sometimes people forget about how well he did over the summer, but I think Ohio State's going to take their best shot with Mr. Quinn. We'll see if it's enough. Ideally, they would like him to not take those visits. Obviously, that would be the best case scenario, but yeah, I would say there's some optimism here, but I don't think there's as much optimism with Dre as there is CJ right now. But again, a lot can change. Like this time last week, we were hemming and hawing about Kevin Brown, and then after the visit, it was rainbows and sunshine for a while, and then a 48-hour period later, things kind of changed. So a lot can happen. It's very fluid in recruiting, but like I said, the biggest takeaway here is they do need another defensive end, and whether it's Dre or another one, we'll see. I do believe they will get one. It's just a matter of if they can get Dre or if they'll have to turn their attention elsewhere.
And Braxton Rembert's listed as a linebacker. He's already 6'5", 200 pounds. Is he more of a D end? Does he project as a D end, or do you think he'll stay a linebacker?
Well, Dan and Mark and I have discussed Braxton a little bit once he got his offer on the show before. And the best way I can describe him to you is I don't want to compare him to Arvell Reese, but there's a lot of Arvell Reese traits in there. He does everything. He plays the edge. He will even play safety sometimes. Like he is – and I talked to the young man, and he's like, I don't even know what position I am yet, if I'm being honest with you. I just want to get somewhere that's going to develop me and use me in the best possible situation. But, yeah, with his size, 6'5", 200 pounds, there's a lot of frame there to build an Arvell Reese type if you want that.
All right, let's move on, Mark.
Let's be fair. We would have watched him, but I think we watched him twice already. That's how much fun it was in the past couple of weeks. So, Dave, you're probably like, what is this guy? We can't compare everyone to Arvell Reese now. It's not fair, and it gets the fans excited. But you're right. That's who we compared him to. We did it last week. So, but let's say like Joshua Perry. Let's say Sonny Styles. Let's say Zach Harrison. Let's say those body types of the 6'5", 200 and some pound kid. You just take them. And that's my contention with the whole thing is as many of those guys you give me, all those different variations I just described to you, we'll take all of them. Any of it, however he turns out. And right now, Arvell Reese being the mountain, top that you want to be, everyone to turn out into. But that, when Jaden Williams from the Massillon linebacker that's committed to Indiana was offered, I think if he's not going to take this job, let's give it to this big long guy and we'll develop him. So if you wait too long, this is what happens at Ohio State.
All right, guys, let's look at some 2027 guys that the Buckeyes were in on. And Jordan Karhoff, who's RJ Day's favorite tight end, unless RJ Day really likes Max Clare, one of the Buckeye tight ends. Jordan Karhoff has a Buckeye offer. It was offered like 5 months ago. 4-star tight end per the composite 2027 Columbus DeSales. For those who don't know, I'm sure most of you know, RJ Day is the quarterback at DeSales. He's in the same class 2027.
Did he have a good game? I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, I think probably 99% of the people in the chat know that and are listening to the show as well. But there's 1 or 2 people that didn't know that. RJ Day is the quarterback at DeSales. He's pretty good. And his tight end, 6'4", 215 pounds, Jordan Karhoff. We have a video, right, Mark?
We do. And you guys, you're going to be very happy because before we get to Jordan Karhoff, I'm going to start the video with the RJ Day comeback. Why not? That was
welcome to week 12 of the Ohio.
It's pretty funny. Garrick and Bill and I have been to a lot of games this year, and sometimes we get skunked and the player doesn't do anything and you kind of get a bummer and you don't come back with highlights. I went to Pickerington North, and when I went to Pickerington Central for the second half, it was a 48-0 blowout. So there was no reason to be there. And I said, do I try to get all the way over to Columbus DeSales to maybe see RJ Day? And I'm pretty bummed out. I'm like, man, I drove all this way, and I'm getting skunked here again in the playoffs. And I walk into this Ashland versus St. And I had no idea what was in store for me. So let's set the stage. That's that's RJ Day, and he had the biggest game of his career, set a school record with over 400 and some yards. And that's Nathan Bernard, the 6'5" quarterback in the class 2026 who Chip Kelly was going to visit. This is Nathan Bernard. He's going to Appalachian State, but with about 4 minutes left in the game, or is it 6 minutes or so there, he runs in for the touchdown on the next play, and we got ourselves a ball game. And the final drive, and, the questions in my chatter about RJ, will he end up at Ohio State? Can he go to Ohio State? And I've said, if he wanted to, I'm sure he's allowed. I'm sure if he said, Dad, I want to be developed by you and these other Buckeye coaches, they're going to make the comparisons to him and saying, he made a case with the school record, and quarter. You see him jumping over guys right there, trying to make a play, and even here on a inches type play, he's fighting for the yardage. He has his signature win, and he has his signature drive now. Where he made a case that if you are going to be a quarterback that isn't 6'5", you have to have moments like this. And now this is what I was here to see. This is Jordan Karhoff, and that ball was intercepted. And he ripped it out of that kid's hands. It was a play of all. It was like a man saying, I want to win this game. And just, he felt bad for the actual kid.
RJ, put your helmet back on, son.
You see the coaching there, like, oh my God, I'm going to get a penalty here and lose the game. And the helmet came off in a natural fashion. There's the high point again. So okay, let's talk. Let's get. We were here to see Jordan Karhoff. Let's talk about him.
Time out. That fog was insane, Mark.
It was like Hollywood kind of came to the game and said, I'm going to give you one of these. I mean, you couldn't script it. It really, for a guy that hadn't seen a lot of good games all year, it was so awesome to see the atmosphere and the comeback. And did I think he was going to drive down the field with 2 minutes left and no timeouts or whatever it was and win the game? Heck no. That just doesn't happen in high school. You don't have those type of drives that are, 2-minute drives where you get a bunch of completions, and he pulled it off. And the pictures are amazing from that game. Jordan Carhoff, my first impression of him is, remember Damarian Witten at Glenville when everyone thought he was going to move to tight end? Jordan Karhoff's probably bigger and faster and probably going to stay at tight end. But his receiving skills and the way he's running away from people at 6'4", 220-some pounds, it's very impressive. You're getting an all-out receiving tight end. I mean, this is a one-hander, caught it behind the line of scrimmage, and he just runs away from every kid on the field.
Wow.
I mean, simply just
215.
Yeah, simply just out sprints the field. Now, this is where Dan usually shuts this off, so the premium members got to see the rest of this. But you can see sending this kid down the seam, using him as a receiver threat. He's great on defense. He can block in the run game, but he'll probably be a developing type blocker as he gets into college. But I hope he commits, because he's an Ohio kid. And between him and the kid at Villa Angela St. Joe's, who's ironically coming to Canfield to play this week, there's two great offers out to two great tight ends. And I have a feeling whoever commits first, the other one's probably going to end up somewhere else. And so I wouldn't worry about the recruiting of Jordan because he's at a school where Ryan Day is at every week. So, I
almost said he better commit to Ohio State or his quarterback's going to say good luck getting the ball. But RJ Day wouldn't do that. He likes throwing the ball to Jordan Carhoff.
I would do that.
Win games and stuff.
If you did that to my father, you wouldn't see a ball the rest of the year.
He's like, well, good luck. Good luck throwing that other.
If he went to somewhere like Michigan, yeah, I wouldn't even come close to throwing. He could be wide open in the end zone, and I'd eat the sack.
Although their running backs going to Michigan, right?
Yeah, and he plays a little bit of corner too. And they have obviously a few other prospects to talk about. But, yeah, I mean, what a great game. And it's funny. As I was walking out of there, I'm like, I better put that last catch on my Twitter feed. That's a heck of a play. By the time I got home, ESPN, Barstool, all sending me direct messages. Because as you guys were saying, we saw that everywhere. The whole world picked up that video and, sent it out there. And, hats off to those kids for putting on that performance. That's a memorable thing. And if you think about it, Ohio State was away at Purdue. And can you imagine, if you're Coach Day and maybe a few members of the staff sitting in the hotel room with some of the players on some live feed or something, and your son setting the school record and coming back. I mean, and I'm pretty sure he goes to every game. So it probably had to be a unique experience not being there.
Yeah, that had to be, he in full father mode, just sweating it out, as you said, in the hotel room, like watching his son have his career night. Very cool stuff. Way to go, RJ. All right, Let's go to some of the 2027 kids who are coming for the UCLA game, prime time, Garrick. Let's start with Eli Johnson. He's a young man from Texas. That state's worked out pretty well for the Buckeyes. On commit watch, it sounds like, this weekend.
Could be. We'll see. There's a lot of momentum building between he and Ohio State, and I know that he and Matt Guerreri are really close, and that Matt Guerreri really values Eli a lot as a safety. 6'3", 200 pounds, really clean in defending the run game, and he's athletic enough to cover swaths of territory. I love the athleticism here, and I mean, if you're thinking about his value right away with getting him on campus, he provides a lot of value on special teams, especially as a coverage piece and maybe even a return option. Obviously, Legend Bay might have something to say about that. But I think the thing that sticks out with Eli is just how consistent he is as a tackler. I know Mark and I talked about Kamari Bing, 2026 free safety that's going to be at Ohio State next year. And I'd say Eli is a little more athletic than Kamari, but the thing that sticks out from his film is just the consistency with which he plays. And there's not a lot of breakdowns, and it's just really, really exciting to watch him play.
And Brock Williams, as you were saying before we went on, that's a guy that Ohio State really wants. He's a tight end. Again, these are 2027 kids. And he's down to Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas. Young man from Illinois. Where do the Buckeyes stand with him?
Yeah, I on the way to the Wisconsin game, I'm from Illinois originally, so my father's house is 15 minutes away from where Brock Williams plays, so that worked out pretty well for me. I lodged the night with the old Padre and went to go see Brock Williams play. And the guy, Mark said that sometimes we get skunked. I certainly was not that night. He caught 3 touchdowns, 2 of the 3 being fades in the end zone, which normally I'm not a big throw the fade to the end zone guy. But when you have Brock Williams, who is 6'5", 210 pounds, why not? Let him go get it.
That was the video where he was jumping over the bushes.
Yes. Yeah. The way Liberty High School is situated, it is lined up with a bunch of bushes in both end zones, and their practice routine is to jump over the bushes and head back into the locker room. So they know if you score, you're going to probably have to run over the bushes if you're running with momentum. Anyway, it's an amusing video if you want to go back and look at it one day. But in terms of where Ohio State stands with him, like you said, Dave, he's down to 3 teams, and I think the Buckeyes are currently the leader right now, and he's eyeing a early December commitment. He told me he's eyeing first week of December, and he also wants to get back to as many schools as he can. He just visited Georgia a few weeks ago. He has a Texas visit planned for next week. But he did tell me at the time that he really wanted to get back to Ohio State, and sure enough, here he is. Brady Edmonds, Ohio State 2027 quarterback commit, has been peer recruiting this guy like you could not believe. He is also very high in his ability and his prospect potential. And Brady Edmonds is coming back to Columbus this weekend, and he will be attached at the hip to Brock Williams, from what I understand, trying to get this done. But Brock seems like a kid that really doesn't want to drag out his recruitment. He wants to get this done and over with. I wouldn't be afraid to say that he is the number 1 target on Ohio State's board right now. Ohio State would love to get this done. And just bringing it back kind of full circle, if in fact Ohio State does land him, they still would take a second tight end in the 27 class. So that would present an opportunity for Jordan Karhoff or the other in-state tight end, D'Angelo White out of Cleveland, to jump in if they wanted to do so. But yeah, I can't say enough about the potential of Brock Williams. And if they get this done within the next couple of weeks, there's going to be some very giddy and very excited people in Columbus, Ohio, in that Woody Hayes Athletic Center.
I want to ask you about one more 2027 kid that'll be here this weekend, Garrick. 4-star defensive end Abraham Cece. He's down to, well, not down to, he's considering some others, but some of the schools he's considering, obviously Ohio State, Alabama, North Carolina, Penn State, Nebraska, and others. Where do the Buckeyes stand with Abraham Cece?
It's a little early with him. They just offered him this fall, September 29th, I believe. Talked with Abraham. He was excited to get down here and visit. This was like right after his offer. And this is a kid that was really a big riser. He's put out some great junior film. The athleticism's off the charts, 6'5", 215. Obviously you can't teach 6'5", so you take those guys all day. Right now he's rated in a 247 sports, the number 77 prospect in the 27 class and the number 8 edge rusher. And I will say, it's not a bad time to be going after kids from Pennsylvania right now, considering the current situation of Penn State and the uncertainty there. Granted, they have enough time to sit around and really pursue them if they really want to do so. But I know Abraham's really interested, and he's going to get on campus, and I'm looking forward to catching up with him after his visit.
Who we got down there, Mark? What's this video we got?
Abraham, we're going to check him out right now if you pull him up.
Perfect.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Because this is one we try not to watch the same guys over and over. This is definitely a new one, and in the class of 2027 is now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That running backs had a better day than that. My God, he just killed that guy.
And it's just like any kid who has this 6'5", 200-something pound frame, I sign up for him. You know, I would take as many of these guys and just place them along the defensive line. The length, and he looks like his body isn't even close to being filled out. So that opens up the discussion. Does he ever kick down inside? But the way he's playing out there on the edge with that change of direction, he'll have a case made for himself to stay on the edge. I know everyone wants to stay on the edge for the pass rushing skills that come off the edge. And I think pass rushers, you like these type of bodies that with the long arms, you can't have enough of them because you can't really ever predict who's going to be the great pass rusher until they're facing 300-pound tackles consistently every day in practice. But this is what they look like when they're puppies.
And he doesn't look like a puppy. My gosh, he doesn't look like a junior in high school by any means. He looks like we're watching like a JUCO film or something, you know? Like these guys do not look – he does not look like he's a junior in high school. He's a man-child. That'd be a great get for the Buckeyes. Good stuff there. All right, before I let you guys go, we're not going to make this a long show. Any parting thoughts? Anything you guys want to add before we let you go? We'll kick it to Garrick.
I think the chat is craving a nickname for me, but all I want to say is, Dave, take your time. You can drag this out as long as you want to. You can take years if you want to. There is no rush. I mean, we don't need nicknames around here.
Garrick saw how you did me with the Fred Flintstone reference, and he knows he doesn't want to be Barney Rubble the rest of his life. So
listen, Mark can get the Grand Poobah nickname right away. I worked with Mark for a couple of years. Work adjacent. I don't know how we would describe it, Mark. Our partnership with Scotty, Ohio goes back a long time with Bucknuts. And then Bill Kurlick, worked with him for a while. He didn't get the dean right away. That happened in maybe a year or two after we worked together. So it will happen. It will happen. Mark, any parting thoughts, my friends, other than getting Garrick a nickname at some point?
With UCLA coming in, I keep thinking of when Iamaleava came to the Ohio State camp and he camped, and I immediately whispered to Bill, and I didn't share this at the time. I'm like, I don't like the vibes from this whole entourage, and sitting here however many years later, seeing how he went from Tennessee and then demanded more money and UCLA, and he was going to quit the team and all the other stuff. It's like, boy, I wish I could bet more on my vibe sometime. But it'd be nice to see him come here and take one in the chin, because he acted like we should have been, bending over and, oh, he's here type thing. So welcome back, Iamaleava. I hope you do well.
Maybe what do you think the betting odds are on what team he'll play at Ohio Stadium with next fall?
Next year? Yeah, no kidding. Maybe we'll get a UCLA helmet cracked, or 2 UCLA helmets cracked to match the Tennessee helmets that were cracked. He's tough, as Ryan Day talked about. I agree. Nico's a tough kid, but man, his advisors did him no favors with that nonsense.
That's what it was. I mean, and not to bang on the kid. It's not like, but you just saw how many in the entourage were there, and it just didn't give you that, like, hey, if we take this kid, look what's coming with him. You're going to have an advisor, you're going to have a money manager, you're going to have parents, and it just seemed like, uncles. Oh boy. Yeah,
as Urban would say, he has a lot of third uncles. Yeah, we have Mrs. Sanchez in the chat.
And everybody enjoys the process and the red carpets, and it's fun to bring your family along for. I get it. I mean, there's a reason the college coaches do this, because they want you to feel that way and your family to feel that way. But if Bill was here, I could say, oh, yeah, the talent, no doubt. You could see the size and talent, but the seriousness was like, boy, like Brady Edmonds showed up for 3 camps this year, and he went to work. There was no entourage. You didn't see his family or anyone around him. He was there to get reps, talk to coaches, be critiqued, be corrected. You've seen that with other players, Will Smith. And so there's a way you can present yourself and it's a vibes thing. It has nothing to do with talent. He had talent. He was a freak, but you just get vibes from people.
Last thing I'll say, and we don't need to expand further on it, the NCAA was so pissed at Michigan, they hammered the hell out of Michigan State.
Yeah, it's like the Jerry Tarkanian quote from years ago. He's like, oh, man, the NCAA is so pissed at Kentucky, they're going to give Cleveland State a couple extra years of probation. And they kind of did. I know. Isn't that crazy? It's wild. All right, the Mel Tucker, the gift that keeps on giving for Michigan State. Garrick, it's funny you said that. I had that exact same thought, like when Michigan State got, more severe penalties than Michigan did. It's ridiculous. All right, guys, good stuff. I appreciate it, my friends. He's Garrick Hodge and Mark Porter. Thank you, gentlemen. And thanks to all of you for tuning into the show. We appreciate that very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.